Well, I'm the first guy that turns the page and moves on, but I just did want to say back, on reflection of Saturday's atmosphere. Thank you to everything in the Department of Athletics, is also the university. But I might be the only head coach in the country that says this type of thing. But our director of band, Barry Hauser, gets it. Like I've never been around a guy. I had him actually speak to the team a year ago. It's when I first had a chance to be around him, and what he pours into game day. I actually, it came out of halftime, and as a choice, as a head coach, we were kicking off. We had the choice which direction. The wind was kind of a push. It was kind of the equal distance both ways, kind of swirling in both end zones. And I literally thought to myself, where can we go? Because I thought it would be a final possession game. I told our coaches all week, told our players, nothing that happened on Saturday was a shock to them. We kind of talked about the way that I thought this game would go. Of course, I was going to welcome the other way in a positive direction if it happened, but I chose to kick towards State Farm so that we knew that at the end of the game, if we were in a situation where we had to score, we would be down in our student section, and if, on the flip side of it, if it was a backed up scenario, they would be in our student section. That literally affected our game because of our student section and our band. So Barry obviously has direct control of the band. He was just awesome. He gets it. He understands it. And then our student section, we had a couple Block High students come out last week, and the way that they arrived and the way that they stayed was just truly an indication of what this place could be. We weren't quite there, obviously. Whatever the number was, it was as loud as it's been since I've been here, and so whatever we can do to get it to a place to be even higher this weekend for homecoming would be awesome. But as a head coach since coming here, I just recognize and understand people that get it, right? And that jumped out to me huge. Yesterday during our team meeting, we recognized as normal our MVPs and the way that they played, but I made a specific point to point out 6 guys that when they woke up on Saturday morning, they didn't know their role was going to be a starter, but it changed during the course of the game, right? So the first one was Fabrizio, who also just got named, obviously, Big Ten Player of the Week. He had expected to possibly be a long field goal hitter on Saturday, but wasn't expected to take over the entire field goal duty, so he did that, passed that with flying colors. And that's not just him, right? Then he's the holder with Hugh Roberson. It's a snapper of Lane Hansen. The protection was absolutely rock solid the whole day, so a great moment for them. Obviously, the offensive emphasis is always through the quarterback, so to see Art respond the way that he did was just absolutely awesome. But then a guy that kind of got lost in the mix, 2 guys really, when Isaiah went down, that forced Miles and Hank Beatty into that role at the slot position. They handled it, not as all Big Ten performance yet, but they did what they had to do. They were very specific. I give Hank a lot of credit. This guy never caught punts at Rochester, right? So, I remember being in fall camp, and I was watching him, catch the ball, and so we were starting our special teams period, and I said, hey, Hank, go back there and catch punts. I just kind of said, why weren't you back there? And he goes, I never caught punts. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, at Rochester, and I think the world of his head coach, and he's won a lot of titles, but he obviously didn't have him back there as a punt returner, and he went back there and caught that thing right with the guys. There's supposed to be a 1-yard rule, but his feet were standing on a 10-yard line, and the defender's feet were standing on a 10-yard line. He caught that ball in tight traffic. At the end of the game, was absolutely awesome. Defensively, obviously Taz Nicholson goes down, and to have Rello go in there and do what he did, the plays that he made was just awesome to see that and witness that. Darkangelo went down, which not only affected us at linebacker play, but about our dark starts on all 4 units of the kicking game. So all the guys that stepped into his role, just truly, we talk all season, all year about, hey, when your moment comes, be ready for it. And those guys really did a great job. So I couldn't say enough things about those guys. A guy like Jonah Moore, I thought the transfer portal showed up on Saturday. Rello, obviously we got a week before fall camp. Actually, Rello and Jonah Miller both entered the University of Illinois right before fall camp started up. So they got 4 weeks of fall camp with us, and then they're in the game week. And the way those guys played in that game was truly, truly awesome to be a part of. So we'll turn the page and jump into Minnesota. Obviously, this is the 4th rematch game for us this year, but this is the first game. It's a rematch against a team that we, as Bob pointed out, right, that's the first time that we'll play a team that we beat a year ago. Very fortunate to get out of there with a win last year. I think overall they're actually a better football team probably. I know they lost some good players, especially on the offensive line, and lost some other players, O-line on the defense and the special teams, but they're a very complete football team. To be a 4-1 team. They had bye week last week, so it's a tremendous challenge for us to play a 4-quarter game and then turn around and play 11 a.m. kickoff, which I'm excited for because I think our appetite for a home game here in Memorial should be really, really high. I know it's 11 o'clock, so either come in the night before and enjoy champagne and start your tailgate whenever you want, or get up early and drive down and let's make Memorial as great as it can be. With that, open up for questions.
Any update on Tommy?
Yeah, really all the guys that are injured. I don't think any of them will be, a season ending or anything along that lines. I think we are fortunate this week, obviously with Minnesota, to have the bye week coming out of it, that the majority of those guys should all be back in time for our return after the bye week. But I don't know how realistic it is for any of those 4 or 5 guys to project into being in this week's plan.
Is that, with the bye week coming immediately after, does that change or influence any approach where in terms of maybe not rushing someone?
Yeah.
You have an extra week?
Yeah, a guy, case in point, when Josh McCray got hurt, right, we looked at the schedule, looked at what the doctor said, and saw that, hey, he could return right before with possibly this game, or worst case scenario be after the bye week on his return. And Josh is really day by day. He performed Sunday with the trainers. Obviously, we don't practice on Sundays overall, but Josh had a really good day on Sunday. Kind of waiting to see where he's at today when he comes back in, and then tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and his projection for Saturday will be a lot about how his body reacts during the course of the week. So, the bye week, we knew this was going to happen, right? We knew we had 3 games of bye week, 4 games of bye week, and then 5-game stretch. So we've been talking about this and thinking about this for a long time.
Right. Obviously, the kicking situation is influencing when you want to go for it on 4th down. But are there other factors that are lending towards, I guess, more aggressiveness there?
Yes and no. I think as a head coach, when I tried to say this to you guys last year, sometimes you guys write your articles before you ask questions. But I would say, a year ago, there was certain times where I was greatly affected by ability to be successful on 4th down, right? Like either with a call or the person or the trigger. And now, I think I made this reference last week at Wisconsin when I went for it on 4th and 4. I was literally asking the question and Barry was spitting the answer, right? And I think we were 3 for 3. I know 3rd down was not great, but 4th down we were 3 for 3. You can't get better than 100%. So obviously we didn't at the end when I told them to, but we were 100% there on Saturday and very good the week before. So that's a huge influence on your ability as a head coach, is to have confidence in your offensive coordinator, but also your offensive play call.
You used to being ranked, when you're at Wisconsin, you were ranked all the time. That hasn't happened here in 11 years. When you saw that yesterday, how did it make you feel?
It's a great question. I think I draw all the time from my experiences, and I distinctly remember during my 3rd year at Wisconsin when we fell to the first time we hadn't been ranked, I believe, and I distinctly remember feeling that, right? And it was the first time that we weren't ranked since I'd been a head coach, right? And that was a moment I remember. And then I would go to the flip side, right? So I really don't worry about a lot of things I don't have on my radar all that much, but I always get a lot smarter on Saturday night after a game. I had obviously a tremendous group of family and friends in for the game. Got done with the game and did a lot of media. We had a lot of recruiting in, and my wife loves to get back, and she loves to watch the final drive on the Big Ten Network, right? And we're sitting there, and they're going through the final segment, right? The final drive, whatever that is, and Dave Revson says to the group, Illinois is the last Power 5 team that hasn't been ranked since 2011. And I'm like, I stopped and I said, what did he say? And she said, we haven't been ranked since 2011. He's asking if we're going to get ranked. And I had no idea, none. Yesterday, I didn't even really think about it much after that. I thought we'd probably be another week if we were able to have success this week. We might get ranked. But when that came through yesterday, I was literally just sat there for a moment, kind of digested it and thought about it. I thought it was a good thing. I grew up and played for Coach Fry, and Coach Fry always said, partner, if you've done it, you ain't bragging. And that's why I showed it. It was one of the first graphics I showed our players, right? Because I know other people are going to talk about it, right? So it's a product of what they've built and what they've tried to accomplish, but it's definitely not our ending point. It's hopefully just a catalyst in our future.
Tell your team about that, Bret. Those expectations, and you get more attention. How do you tell your team about how to handle
Yeah, well, they've been hearing it for about 4 weeks, right? I knew this was coming. right? Like you may not, and they may not. Sometimes reality is the best, is the best educator. But for me as a head coach, since last January to where we were in the spring to where we're in the summer, I think you've heard me say it. Like I knew these things were coming. They had to come to the reality of the moment for some of our guys. I think probably half of our team thought this day was going to come, but to see Palcho after the game in tears, right? Like that's a cool thing. So I knew it was coming. I think other people around us knew it was coming, but now we're in the real world, right? So I gave him the quote. Muhammad Ali had one, right? The more real you get, the more unreal it gets. So it's also a John Lennon song. Who really wants to research it? But I think the thing that is really fun for our guys to take place in is they're just thirsty, right? They're hungry. They're excited. These little things are going to find, continue to pop up along the way. This is going to be a big game on Saturday because we've made it a big game. Minnesota did their part, right? They're a 4-1 football team, and we're a 5-1 team, and it's going to get a little bit of a buzz. So that's a product of, I think, of a lot of good work on both schools.
A big group of visitors, visiting recruits on Saturday for game day. What kind of feedback did you get from
This past weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, I give Pat Hamilton, I can't say enough about the value of Pat since I've got here in our personnel department. I've brought in a lot of other. Pat Pearson is an incredible asset to our program. Nate McNeil, we've hired some other people, Pat Ryan. So I really, on Saturday game days, even when we were a team in the past, when I've been at other places, highly ranked to the reality of where we're at now, just getting ranked for the first time. Saturdays are for the team that's here, right? So I will occasionally meet with a player if there's going to be an offer involved, if it's someone that we're highly sought after and we don't get them on campus very often. But my meetings are usually, prior to us arriving at the stadium. Like, so we had a long day so I could meet people earlier in the day. We had some official visitors. I met and had coffee with a set of grandparents in the morning. On Sunday, I met with a lot of visitors because they stayed the night after a night game. But game day visits are usually for my assistants and our recruiting staff. And Pat made reference after the game that it was probably the best group of unofficial visitors / official visitors since he's been here. The environment, the way the crowd was interactive with our fans. I specifically saw a couple of pictures of people that were here visiting us that were waving their orange towel fanatically in the fourth quarter. So I think they enjoyed it as much as we did.
Excite you about this week, about Barry and Art being able to put a plan together and having a whole week to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think, the thing about Art, Barry hasn't experienced Art as a starter, right? I have. So there's these little uncommon, like they didn't know Mike Marquez, right? And I kept saying, wait till we get Marquez back in there, right? Like, wait till you see what he's all about. Art is a guy that accepts the challenge. He's going to be the projected starter. He's going to be the projected backup. His preparation is all the same, and it's very it's not normal, right? So Art is a guy that's got my respect from day one a year ago to where we are today, and I think the team as well. I said that to the team. I go, is there anybody in here that's surprised by the way Art handled the moment, right? And it wasn't clean by any means. I think he'd be the first to tell you that, and Barry would as well. So those two working together, I think, was a great learning experience along the way. Wherever that goes or however that transcends, I'm glad we were able to have those moments out of a 9-6 win and vice versa.
Saturday when after Sikowski came in, he's scrambling and he kind of put his shoulder into a linebacker.
Yeah.
I saw, I guess, a two-part question. A, do you go to your quarterback there and say, hey, we're down to number 2, we don't want to go to number 3? And B, sideline got pretty fired up.
Yeah.
That was a moment for the team of, hey, this guy has got it, and
Yep.
go. Tell me about that moment and what your reaction.
Robert, good point. So I think first off, I don't ever want to coach a player into something that he's not, right? And I think that's Art's demeanor. I think if he felt that it was going to give us an advantage either by down a distance and a first down or give us something to sideline, he was probably going to do that again. I would much rather try to take that out of him and try to put it in him, right? On the flip side of it, it was a definite emotional reaction out of our players. So I think that's Art being engaged with our sideline more than anything. I think there is a point in time where you would have a conversation, and we actually worked with Art last year about sliding because it's not in his DNA to do that, right? But that's definitely a learning moment for everybody involved. But it was for what we needed at the time. It's probably what the doctor ordered.
Somebody's coaching position at the NFL, what has Seth Coleman shown you the last couple weeks from that position? Why is he having success?
You know, Seth has got three key factors as an edge player. He's got an extreme length, right? Like he's tall, but he's not like, you know, not like too tall, right? Like he's tall, but he's extremely long in his levers. I think Kevin does a tremendous job. Kevin, the two guys that he worked with a year ago, Seth is kind of a combo platter between Gabe and no, but our two starters last year, Owen and OC, but and Gabe, Isaiah Gay. So those two guys were kind of two distinct players, right? And Seth's kind of he's not one of those. He's kind of a combo platter of both. So it's been fun to watch Seth grow. And then the other thing that's really happened, I think, with Seth from a year ago, his football IQ awareness on the edge. If there are two players that defensively you really hope they have great football IQ awareness, it's your edge players, right? It's your safeties and your edge players, because usually they're in charge of a lot. And Seth recognizes, I think, when he's got speed on a tackle, but he also recognizes when he has power. And in the run game, he's been really good on the edge. So those things really make him play well, and he's a tremendous influence on Gabe Akis. And then Alec Bryant's another guy that's kind of played more and more. It's been fun to see Alec get in there and mix it up a little bit more. So those three guys, you know, since the fall camp has started, have really continued to grow.
But just for clarity, do you expect Art to start on Saturday?
Good try.
What discussion has there been, if any, about the possibility of clinching this Saturday a bowl berth?
Another good question. I'm just, you know, obviously before I got here, there hadn't been a lot of bowls, right? And it's something we talked about. I think we just concentrate more that we're a 5-1 team. We haven't ignored that. I'm pretty sure our guys know 6 wins get you to a bowl, but I don't know that because last year we couldn't get there. But I do think it's being talked about to them, right? So I'm not going to ignore that. I brought up yesterday, I showed them a ranking. I showed us the Big Ten standings. I showed them anything and everything that they're going to see. I would much rather be up forward, honest, and open about it. To much of you guys' questions, obviously, like there's a lot of guys this week that were injured and out of the game that we had guys step into those roles. And if those guys are there, those guys will be back in those roles. If not, as others come forward, we just deal with the moment as it comes. I think it's a little bit fluid, and because of that, I think all hands on deck. I've told these guys all along, like, listen, literally, I told them to give me the first 3, we'll take a bye week. Give me the next 4, we'll take a bye week, and we'll see where we're at for the next 5. So I think everything is just about let's get to Minnesota game, a Big Ten West opponent, a rematch game, a very, very good opponent that you know has been ranked already this year, and I think just to get Saturday at 11 o'clock is what we're all hoping for.
What are some keys against Minnesota? Is there something unique about them that you have to stop, or?
You know, PJ just does a really good job. You know, if you look at his staff, a lot of these guys are people that have been with him for a long time or have now come back with him. I think much to the same as I assembled my staff. A lot of guys that I had been around in the past, which means that I think they like their head coach, working for their head coach, and you can see in the way their kids play. I learned a lot about PJ in the most roundabout way, right? So I'm at New York, and we draft a young man by the name of Carter Coughlin. And Carter, probably to this day, I only got to coach him for about a half a season with the Giants, but one of the most enjoyable kids I'd ever been around, coaching-wise. Well, in the NFL, we don't bet, all right, but we make wagers. And so I had bet Carter on ironically, the Iowa-Minnesota game, because at the time I was working for the Giants, right? So I took the Hawks, and he took the obviously the Gophers, and the Hawks won that game. So he had to wear a shirt that I gave him all week, right? And it was kind of funny because on Saturday, which is the night before our game as an NFL team, he wasn't wearing a shirt. And I said, whoa. The bet was for a week, bro. Tonight's Saturday. That doesn't get you out of it. So he had to wear it as punishment another whole week. And that didn't go over well, right, with him. But I saw the way he talked about PJ and the way that he talked about being in his program. I knew there was a tremendous amount of sense and pride in that, and I thought that was a really good indicator of what they're taught in that program, because fundamentally he was a really good player. Football IQ-wise, he was a really good player, and he loved his program. So I got a lot of respect for PJ and what he does. Said it before, like we're kind of different people, but from a program standpoint, we're probably very similar in a lot of ways.
Get 200 rushing yards against that defense.
Yeah.
When you know they're going to be keying on you with a bad
Yeah.
quarterback. What have you seen from your offensive line?
Couldn't be happier with their O-line, their growth that they had. I thought going into that game last week, that was going to be the most challenging defensive line that we were going to face. Defensive line, linebackers, 31 and 44, really good players. So for us to gain 200 yards against that defense is really. I know we got 9 points, all right, but like there's been a lot of teams that get in that exact same moment can't win that game, right? Sometimes you got to win things in ways that you don't plan, and to rush for 200, to have a no sacks, and I know those 2 critical turnovers were really disruptive for us, advantageous for them. I think those are things we can really learn from going forward. I told Barry early in the week, right? I know they've called a lot of games, but these guys are a difficult game. They're just a difficult team to prepare for, and you have to. One thing I've learned as a head coach, you have to express that before it's happened. So our players weren't shocked with the way that game unfolded, and neither were our coaches.
Coach, last week, I don't know if you saw it, but you went a little viral on social media because your comments about, I think it was the offensive line eating like Golden Corral. If I may ask, has Golden Corral reached out to you or any of your players?
No, I can't tell you the last time I was in a Golden Corral. I couldn't think of any other all-you-can-eat places anymore. Everybody may find fun in that too. No, I just know that when I was in college, that was a place I frequented with my family, probably. Budget related, and also consumption related, but no, I didn't get anything further out of that. I think our guys are extremely hungry. They're fun to be around. I don't know if I've enjoyed coaching either before the game, during the game, or after the game as much as I have this group.
Does momentum matter as you're trying to build the program, and then what are those next steps to continue that?
You know, that is I know sometimes I give long-winded answers, but I'm going to take this one and roll. Like, winning affects everything, right? Winning affects your program, it affects your recruiting, it affects your retainment of your own roster, which is a way you've never had to think about before, right? So now you got good players that when you're not winning, like a year ago, I was worried guys might bail, right? They had trust and faith in us. Winning affects your athletic department. Winning affects your university. Winning affects your community. Winning affects TV ratings. Winning affects the media. How much you guys are always here, right? But right now, Bret and I got to sort out every day what we're going to do or not going to do because national media want attention. So there's so much positivity in winning. You can't put a quantitative dollar figure on it, right? Like I know Josh and his people will count, like what our ticket sales did, right? And the venue that brought in and the money it brought in. But that's why, like Barry Hauser, right? Like to me, Barry Hauser helped us win that game, right? We had an offense struggle to get a playoff and had some miscommunication backed up back here down in this end zone, right? And that was the student section and the band. Like that matters to me. I've been through this enough that I know that matters. And then just different things in our athletic department, people in our community. It's just winning helps everything go better, and that's why I want to ride this wave as long and as high as we possibly can because it'll definitely help us in the future.
You've already tied last year's winning total, and you've got half the season to go. Is this one of your best seasons ever?
Well, at Illinois it is, but yeah, no, that's a great perspective. I'd never even thought of it like that. Literally, no one's ever said that to me. We have 5 wins, and that's as many as we had last year. So obviously, we're taking a step in the right direction. But I think this is probably one of my most enjoyable seasons to be at a 5-win season, 6 games into it, because I know what these kids have been through, and their families and their friends. Like truly, I get to double dip, right? So I leave the stadium the first time and get a chance to be around a bunch of fans, but then when I go in the locker room and I come back, there's more family assembled there. But then when I go down and visit with you guys, media-wise, when I go back up, it's usually parents only, right? Because they're kind of still waiting for their sons to come out, and to see the hugs and the affirmation of what parents see in their sons and what they're being told when I'm not around, like it just gives you confirmation in the things that you're building, for sure.
Right, you had 2 physical
couple
games
more.
against Wisconsin and obviously Iowa, and Minnesota's coming off
Yeah.
of a bye. How does that kind of impact this game?
Great question. So I went through on Sunday and showed them. So one of the things I really sell to our players is you just do your job, let me do mine, right? And I'm not trying to be confident or cocky or dismissive. I showed them why we trained a certain way in January, why we train a certain way during the spring, why we do a certain thing in the summer and the fall, and then really once fall camp broke and we started our season, there's a reason that I scheduled the way we do. There's a reason tomorrow when they show up for Tuesday's practice, the schedule I put in front of them, it will be to maximize their effort on Saturday. So, yeah, it's always taken into account. It was a 4-quarter plus game on Saturday. I know we didn't go to overtime, but you know that was a very physical, mentally and physically. Everybody can understand the physical part of it, but to hold your mental focus for three plus hours is not an easy task, right? So, we got to make it light. We got to make it enjoyable. I love these guys to death, and I want to put me as a head coach. I can't play one snap, but what I can do is help them play that snap, right? And every minute of my day, really from about Sunday morning when well, Saturday night even, but Sunday morning when I came in the office to where we are today, has been thinking about what we can do Tuesday to help them with that moment.
When you started the year, so did you think we're going to get ranked this year? Was that in your head?
Unequivocally.
It was.
Yeah.
From day one.
I did. I thought we had too good a football team. I told our guys, I think I might have shared it with you last week, right? Going to Indiana on a long bus ride, right? Like, I felt we had a good football team and I expected to win. What I didn't foresee was us, we lost a tough heartbreaker at the end, the way that we did. But I felt leaving that locker room that I had a better team than I thought I did, and I expected us to win more than we ever have. Thank you.